Hey party people, I'm DP and welcome to BP Fun. In today's video, I will be doing a recap over the first season of Umbrella Academy. And spoiler warning for those who have not seen any of these seasons already, as I will be going in detail about this entire season. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more recaps and reviews just like this, and click the bell to be notified for more nerdy content. As we dive into the first episode, we are immediately thrown into the origins of the Hargreaves siblings as we see an anomaly happen where multiple women around the world all give birth at the exact same time. Pretty crazy, right? Enter Sir Reginald Hargreaves, an astounded billionaire who goes around the world to try to find these children born out of this anomaly to form a family of sorts, or rather a team. Now, as the episode goes on, we actually see the whereabouts of each member of the family many years later. In this episode, we meet all of our protagonists: Vanya, now Victor Hargreaves, Luther, number 5, Allison, Klaus, Diego, and Ben, whom later we discover actually passed away. Interestingly enough, this show seems to focus a lot more on Vanya. Rather, this first season seems to focus on her life and what she went through as a child during the years of the Umbrella Academy. We mainly start to notice all the flaws and all the problems that these characters seem to be going through. But the biggest aspect of this episode is the mystery behind Sir Reginald's death and how did it bring everyone together and why. The second episode dives into the reasons why number 5 hasn't been seen for 16 years when he accidentally teleported himself into the future. Meanwhile, we do see some snippets as to what happened during that time that he was missing for 16 years, which in reality he was actually gone for 40 years, which makes that insane. But also not to mention, the end of the first episode ends with 5 showing off his abilities while trying to survive a group of mercenaries who were sent to kill him, which introduces us to Hazel and Cha-Cha, 2 assassins who were sent to kill 5 due to his insubordination to something called the Commission, who controls time in a similar way that the TVA does from the Loki show, meaning that they are the ones who control everything that happens, all the way to assassinations, people who needed to die at certain moments in order for history to continue, or in this case, for the apocalypse to happen. Episode 3 is when things start to pick up action-wise, as we see Hazel and Cha-Cha break into the Umbrella Academy, and at the meantime, before all that happens, Luther and Allison call a family meeting trying to figure out if Mother, who is an android robot who has taken care of them throughout their teenage years, and Pogo, their monkey butler, as ridiculous as that may sound, they feel that they might be hiding something about their father's death. Meanwhile, Vanya is actually going through her own thing where she meets a guy named Leonard Peabody. Episode 4 is probably one of my more favorite episodes as we deep dive into the past of Luther and his transformation from his regular body to his seemingly gorilla body. While we're also learning about Luther's past, we actually then find out that Klaus was actually kidnapped by Hazel and Cha-Cha and was tortured in various ways that seem to have a very opposite effect of what torture is supposed to do to a person. And it certainly doesn't stop there, as we see Klaus's past as well, and we deep dive into the reasons why he becomes a druggie and an alcoholic, because of the fact that his father put him through traumatic experiences where he stuck him in a room alone to essentially conquer his fear of the dead. But later on, Klaus uses this to his advantage, which definitely helps him out. Sadly though, this episode had me in tears as we see Diego's love interest, Detective Eudora Patch, pass away after she tries to save Klaus from the kidnappers, Hazel and Cha-Cha. Episode 5 focuses on 5 letting Luther in on the secret regarding the apocalypse and him trying to find out who is the cause of said apocalypse. Meanwhile, Klaus escapes from Cha-Cha and Hazel only to be accidentally teleported to the Vietnam War, which later on you see the effects that it has on his mental. Now, while Luther and 5 are trying to figure out a deal with Cha-Cha and Hazel to give them their suitcase back, we have Leonard actually throwing away Vanya's pills in order to have her reach her potential without her knowing. Obviously, this resulting in Vanya feeling strange about not being able to take her pills, which was actually harboring a secret that she did not know herself. In episode 6, we start to see a lot of tension grow between the Hargreaves siblings as they try to meet up in the house to try to discuss how they're going to figure out who starts the apocalypse. Meanwhile, they forget about Vanya and she finds out about the meeting. She gets upset upset, storms off. What we also see is 5 making a deal with the top lady from HQ, where if she spares his family, he is able to go back to HQ and be at an upgraded position of office job rather than being an assassin. And then meanwhile, we also have Cha-Cha going through a type of dilemma where she is sent a mission to assassinate Hazel and vice versa. For episode 7, we finally get a name on the person who starts the apocalypse. It's Harold Jenkins. And what they don't know is that Harold Jenkins is actually the guy that Vanya is talking to. So, as they are slowly trying to figure out where he is and who he is, Leonard, who is Harold Jenkins, is taking Vanya to the woods to test her powers and to try to get her to figure out how to control them. We do eventually see a bit of a backstory slowly from Leonard, and we see why his motives are the way that they are. In episode 8, we see Vanya training to try to control her new abilities, and we see Leonard having an unhealthy obsession with trying to figure out her powers, and she's starting to take notice of it. Meanwhile, Allison tags along with a cop on a crime scene to try to figure out where Leonard is, or in this case, Harold Jenkins, and this is when tensions start to fly, especially between Hazel and Cha-Cha, where they are trying to figure out what to do in the dilemma of having orders to kill one another. Episode 9 becomes very, very intense as we start to see a bit of a backstory for certain characters, and we actually see Vanya discover some secrets. She ends up discovering that Leonard has the book that was used by the father to figure out how to use their powers, which obviously has Vanya raising a lot of questions about what is going on. And eventually, we start to see Vanya take defense and do the deed. In the meantime, Hazel and Cha-Cha's drama become even more intense as we see Hazel fall in love with the donut lady, and Cha-Cha, it's very weird why she gets so upset, but it almost feels that she had some type of romantic feeling for him. And at this same time, Allison is recovering from her injuries from said situation with Vanya. And in the meantime, we have Hazel come to 5 and actually make a deal with him. And unfortunately, Vanya comes back after the situation to check up on Allison, and as Luther sees her, he tricks her and throws her into a prison that suppresses her powers. And finally, episode 10, we start to see a flashback of Reginald Hargreaves as he is starting his business as the Umbrella Academy emerges. And over time, he starts to realize what he wants to do with the world, how he wants to make a difference. In the meantime, we are starting to see Vanya destroying everything in the house as she eventually just realizes that everyone hates her, everyone is against her, and she feels that she is alone in the world, which unfortunately leads to all this destruction that goes on, and even ultimately leading to Pogo's death. As all this continues, Hazel and Cha-Cha continue to have their drama and eventually have the leader of HQ come in and try to make a deal with them. That doesn't work out very well. And we see Vanya going to her concert that has been mentioned throughout the whole season, and she starts her destruction as she continues to destroy everything within that opera. And this is where season 1 ends in a cliffhanger leading to season 2. Thank you guys for joining me on this recap of season 1 of Umbrella Academy. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more nerdy content just like this. This is DP signing off. See you in the next one.